is no greater way to start a step than to plan it first. Ka-Edu. Why do you need to plan your lesson? How do we write a lesson plan? In today's video discussion, we will delve into the definitions, types, advantages and strategies to be employed in the writing of a lesson plan. Called as daily log, it is a roadmap of what, how and why students need to learn during the class time. Its three key components include the objectives for student learning, the teaching and learning activities and strategies to check students' understanding. Why do we need to plan our lesson? Here are the reasons and suggested quotations to remember. 1. For preparation and awareness. When one fails to prepare, he prepares to fail. 2. Direction and control. When one knows the game, he rules to win. 3. Minimize understanding gaps. When one follows a plan, he prevents further delays and mistakes. 4. Production of more unified lesson. In unity, there is strength and consistency. 5. Consideration of learning objectives. I aim, therefore I act. 6. Evaluation of knowledge between the teacher and the students. Practice what you preach. What are the parts of a lesson plan? 1. Objectives. Objectives are the framed statements for purpose. 2. Content. Content includes the topic or the lesson, references and instructional materials. 3. Procedure. Procedure refers to how the presentation of lesson progresses from the introduction to its summary. 4. Evaluation. Evaluation is a part for checking students' understanding, which uses various assessment types: diagnostic, formative and summative in kind, written and performance tasks. 5. Assignment. Assignment is composed of activities for enrichment and reinforcement derived from the learning objectives. Following the acronym SMART are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, realistic and time-bound. Planning a lesson commences with the formulation of concrete objectives to project students' engagement. The quality of engagement among teachers and learners will define the usage of academic activities founded on the kinds of assessment to measure if the learning objectives have been attained. See the figure for its academic cycle. What are the types of lesson plan? 1. Detailed lesson plan. It includes 2 columns on the procedure part for teacher and students' activities. It gives a verbatim framework on what needs to be done during the class time. 2. Semi-detailed lesson plan. In contrast to detailed lesson plan, the procedure part gives the general overview for teacher's activity. 3. Brief lesson plan. It follows a concise projection of statements describing the objectives, content and tasks to be done during class time. 4. Understanding-based design lesson plans include references and materials in the reference section and assignment as an assessment evidence. Here are the examples of the 3 types of lesson plan. Before you plan a lesson, consider the following concepts and answer the following questions. 1. Framework. What do students need to learn and how can it be effectively delivered? What are the competencies and skills to be catered? What are the topics to be covered? What learning activities are most appropriate for better engagement? If your students need to learn how to read literature, devise a plan which would cater their literary skills. Start with the unlocking of difficult words and activate their prior knowledge. Creatively deliver their reading time in an animated story and include a collaborative, group activity as an assessment. For English and literature, a teaching approach on the 4 Ds, dip, deepen, do and discern, is suggested. Dip, motivation or review part; deepen, lesson proper or the discussion part; do, assessment in the forms of written or performance tasks part; discern, reflection or evaluation based on the lesson's content. 2. Learning objectives and teaching activities. What are the competencies and standards to be met? How to develop appropriate activities to efficiently provide feedback. Based from the Curriculum Implementation and Learning Management Task for K-12 and Senior High School courses by the Department of Education on Curriculum and Instruction Strand, one of the MELCs, the most essential learning competencies in the teaching of mathematics, for Grade 8, Quarter 1, Week 1 to 2 illustrates quadratic equations. Solves quadratic equations by a. Extracting square roots, b. Factoring, c. Completing the square, and d. Using the quadratic formula. Note that the set objectives are specific, measurable, attainable and time-bound. With the identified competencies and standards, activities which include problem-solving and graphical interpretation to clearly picture quadratic formula in quadratic equations are suggested. For mathematics, the teaching strategies of repetition, timed testing, pair work, real-time problem-solving and reasoning, manipulation tools and math games are suggested. 3. Teaching strategies and assessment of learning. What are the strategies and approaches to be employed? How to integrate appropriate assessment to gauge learners' understanding. For Filipino, circle talk; for literature reading and analysis, tiered activities; for literature and grammar, group role plays and simulations; for reflection and assessment, and talk shows, content and assessment are suggested. The integration of appropriate assessment to gauge learning involves the combination of strategies anchored in the presented lesson and the set learning objectives. Activity approach commencing from the key points of every chapter and culminating on insights application to real-life experiences and situations. How to plan a lesson. 1. Delimit learning objectives. Anchor your teaching and learning goals to your content and vice versa. What is the lesson's topic or content? What do I want students to learn and to be able to do at the end of the class meeting? Which among these objectives apply directly to students' learning? Align the set objectives to the lesson and rank them according to importance. Emphasize the most essential and most attainable ones based on time, resources and circumstances. 2. Frame the introduction and introduction under the procedure part, which also includes preparation, presentation and summary, as a crucial part to initiate learning. According to Stiliana Milkova from the Center of Research in Teaching and Learning, framing a creative introduction for the topic based from the learning objectives will help teachers in designing specific activities to gauge learning and stimulates interest, motivation and higher order of thinking skills. For example, a simple poll survey. How many of you have heard of X? Raise your hand if you have. You can also gather background information from your students prior to class by sending students an electronic survey or asking them to write comments on index cards. When there is an ample information on how students are familiar with the presented topic, the teacher gains focus on what to discuss and to highlight. A variety of approaches to engage students can also be used. For example, personal anecdote, historical event, thought-provoking dilemma, real-world example, short video clip, practical application, probing questions and online quick games. Milkova. Include the following guideposts. What are the common notions and misconceptions of students about the topic? What ways can I introduce the topic? 3. Prepare for specific learning activities or the main content. The main content should give a quick background of the topic on hand, an in-depth explanation with the employment of various strategies like realia or real-life examples, audio-visual presentations, interactive whiteboards, animation and teleconference applications. Consider the time to be consumed with the projected lessons to be delivered. Refer to the following. What will I do to explain and illustrate the topic? How can I give optimum engagement and participation among students? 4. Plan to check for understanding. Devise an activity or guide questions to gauge students' comprehension on the presented lesson. Start with listing possible questions which may be asked from you and situations which may generate better ideas from your students. How can I gauge my students' understanding? What activities or questions will help my students better comprehend the lesson? Checking my set learning objectives. Have I accomplished them? Quick reminder. Work on with the balance between covering content, accomplishing your learning objectives, and ensuring students' engagement. 5. Summarize key points. Never forget to provide key points on the presented topic. This will help students' retention on the discussed lesson and generalization of one common understanding from the class. It will also raise possible points for clarification to ensure that everything is clear and well understood. For example, infographics and graphic organizers are visually enticing to present summative generalizations. Also, an assignment, agreement or reinforcement activity can also be included to enrich the lesson or to introduce the next lesson. 6. Manage time. Narrow down learning objectives based from schedule, like if you are given an hour and you have to divide it from the parts of the lesson plan. Here is the estimated timeline. 2 minutes to prepare you class. This includes greetings, prayer, checking of attendance and matters of the day. 1 to 3 minutes to introduce the topic. 30 minutes to present the content. 3 minutes to summarize the presented topic. 2 minutes to ask questions for clarification. 15 minutes for checking the understanding or assessment. 5 minutes for reminders and ending of the class time. Quick reminders. Be adaptable, flexible and creative. Always be ready to adjust your lesson plan to students' needs and focus on what seems to be more productive rather than sticking to your original plan. Milkova. Students' knowledge on what they will be learning and doing in class will keep them engaged. Provide outlines to explicitly direct them for class time. Provide a meaningful organization to keep them on track. Protocols like submission, quiz and recitations times should be clear and be maintained to emphasize responsibility in their learning. In summary, the new normal education provides teachers with new templates for lesson plans, weekly daily logs, which are more time-bound and more attainable. It is encouraged that together with the well-written lesson plan is a well-executed implementation of its role in the teaching learning situations, like great teachers do. See you in our next episode.